A little note before we start the video. I want to thank my 26 new subscribers for voicing your support and hitting that little red button. Your support is so important right now in getting these questions and facts out there. We cannot let the leftists bury the facts and push emotion before logic. Please share my videos with anyone you think might enjoy them and urge more people to support those of us who are trying to expose the truth and logic in the world. Now for today's video. A Black Lives Matter organizer was arrested last month and charged with human trafficking and prostitution. Charles Wade, a BLM leader and co-founder of Operation Help or Hush, which we'll get to later, was arrested last month. It took me this long to come out with the story because I wanted to make sure I could get as many facts as possible. First, let me give you some backstory. Here's what the police report says. Wade was arrested as part of a sting operation in which an undercover officer responded to an ad he placed for a 23-year-old woman on Backpage.com, a website I'm not going to show you because I don't want to get put on a list, but here's a picture I found on the internet. The officer was informed that the cost of services would be $100 for a half hour and provided an address, which turned out to be a Howard Johnson Inn in College Park, Maryland. Not great publicity for the Hojo. When the officer arrived at the room, a young woman in a towel answered and let him in. When he told her he was a cop, she ran out. Eventually, they caught up with her. The police report also says that members of the Vice Intelligence Unit described a male that was watching the detective as he entered the room, a description that matches Wade. The woman referenced in the ad turned out to be a 17-year-old girl who called Wade her manager, who she knew as CJ. She said that Wade was not concerned with the fact that she was a minor and claimed that he had told her, quote, "You only have 5 months left until you're 18, so I'm not worried." She also told cops that she gave all the money she earned from prostitution to Charles Wade. The police also claim that there is evidence that Wade was the person who communicated with the undercover officer via text message. I'm assuming because at the time of arrest, Wade was in possession of 3 different cell phones. That's a little excessive, unless you're doing something that requires burner phones. So, Wade is being held on 7 counts related to felony human trafficking and prostitution. He posted his $25,000 bond and left jail on April 27th. The charges carry a sentence of up to 25 years in prison and a $15,000 fine. This isn't Wade's first brush with the law either. He was also arrested in August of 2014 in Texas and charged with making false statements, and earlier this year he was charged with third-degree grand theft in Miami. He says he wasn't convicted of grand theft and they dropped the charges. Unfortunately for him, there is public record of this case which shows that the charges were not dropped. In actuality, Wade entered into a deferred prosecution program. He agreed to perform community service and stay out of trouble in exchange for an eventual dismissal of charges. Who knows if this most recent arrest will nullify the deferred prosecution. Wade's court date for these newest charges is set for June 3rd. After reading what the police have said and the evidence available, the story seems pretty cut and dry. Wade was housing a 17-year-old girl who was prostituting and giving all of her money to him, which makes him a pimp. But there's always 2 sides to every story. So here's what Charles Wade says. In a statement he released shortly after he got out of jail, Wade claims that he often gets requests to provide temporary housing through his organization, Operation Help or Hush, and this was one such case. He says in April he was asked to temporarily house for less than a week a woman who was 20 years old and awaiting a replacement ID card and her monthly death benefit from her father. She would then need help finding a place to rent, but would no longer need housing. He claims that less than a few hours after he put her up, she was arrested in the hotel room where she admitted she was 17. Since he was the one who booked the room and paid for it, he was subsequently arrested with those charges I mentioned earlier. He's saying that this is simply him getting punished for not looking further into this girl's background before he agreed to help her. He's just too nice for his own good. Something stinks, and I think it's this guy's story. What about that ad on Backpage.com? What about her referencing him as her manager and giving him all of her money? What about all those cell phones Wade had on him at the time of arrest? How long had she really been in that hotel room, and where was she before that? And what is all of this about trolls trying to ruin his reputation? Really? I think you're doing a good enough job of that on your own. In his statement, Wade says, quote, "This statement is really not in defense of me or my organization. However, it is in defense of a movement that trolls are actively trying to discredit by working to prove that people in the movement are not perfect." Listen, buddy, publicizing your poor life choices and subsequent arrest does not make us trolls. At worst, it makes us journalists. And no one expected you to be perfect. We just expected you to stay out of jail. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to this case, and I still can't really provide very much insight. Let me tell you a little bit more about Operation Help or Hush, which is just as patronizing as it sounds. Their website says, hashtag Operation Help or Hush started as critics doubted the impact that Twitter activists could have to influence change. And our response was, so help or just hush. Either contribute to the movement or be quiet. Yep, you heard it. If you don't agree with us, just shut up. Yet another effort by BLM and social justice warriors to silence the dissenters. Basically, Operation Help or Hush provides education to community organizers and resources for the community. Not only that, they also provide housing to wanted prostitutes. Their blog is oddly silent. They must have taken their own advice. In the end, like I said before, Wade has blamed Twitter trolls for all of this somehow. He said that trolls have been actively baiting conservative news outlets to report on his arrest, but he is confident he'll be cleared of the charges. The BLM movement needs to turn around and look inward. I'm tired of hearing their excuses. Anytime someone disagrees with them, it's Twitter trolls or racist whites or the patriarchy. Oh no, wait, that's feminists. Anyway, my point still stands. Why was Wade even using donations to pay to house wanted criminals in the first place? Why doesn't he vet the people who ask for his money? And by his money, I mean other people's donations. What kind of organization is this anyway? Face it, BLM, your people aren't as squeaky clean as you like to claim. I mean, Sean King isn't even black, and now Charles Wade is housing criminals. Regardless of whether he was more involved in it than he's letting on, he used donations to put her up and she was breaking the law. He aided in her wrongdoing, didn't he? So shouldn't there be some punishment for that? The lesson here is be careful who you help. You can't assume someone is genuine because they fit your narrative. The identity of the girl was never released, so I can't tell you what she looks like, but I can almost guarantee you she's black. If she weren't, why would he help her? Look around, BLM, and clean up your own damn messes. Have an opinion? Leave me a comment below. I'll never delete comments and I'll reply to as many as I can. If you like my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel for easy access to new ones. If you have an idea for a story you think I should do, or you just want to get a hold of me, tweet at me at littlemissskeptical, and follow me on Twitter for updates and opinions about news, politics, and general tomfoolery. Thanks for watching.